Hello everybody, my name is Tsumoro. I'm going to be doing an early review of Wasteland 2. Now it's an early review because this is not the complete game, it is essentially still a work in progress, but that's not going to deter me from talking about this game. Now just a little bit about my background, and I do apologise, you may hear me on and off, drink a little bit of my cup of tea here. That's because I get such a dry throat, so I do apologise, but we are going to talk about this in some level of detail. It's not going to make up a 40-minute video, I'm going to be honest with you. What I'm planning on doing is say my piece and probably let the video play on so you can see the rest of what I did within Wasteland 2. If you don't mind, you can obviously just switch off after I finish talking if you so wish. You may become irritated that I'm talking over gameplay footage of Wasteland 2, but I did mark this video quite clearly as a review, and I'm going to stand by those words. That'd be the tea drinking. Anyhow, I come from a background, Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale 1 and 2, Neverwinter's Nights 1 and 2, Planescape Torment, and all the expansions, including the unofficial expansion that was released for Baldur's Gate, fan-made I believe it was, called The Darkest Day. If you ever played that, it was really good, I would recommend it. A bugger to find now though, if I'm honest. Anyhow, I did not support Wasteland 2 Kickstarter. I did for Numeria, but I did not do it for Wasteland 2, and the driving force behind that decision was the combat, because it's a turn-based combat system. Now, this is an alien concept for me for an isometric based RPG. Not so much for games like Final Fantasy, of course, but for an isometric RPG, I'm used to real time with pause. That's how I played those earlier games I mentioned, and I felt that a new combat system being introduced to me personally, I would not enjoy it, because I would always be looking to pause with combat and strategize and so forth. That's why I did not back it, purely because of the combat system. I enjoyed the concept of Wasteland 2, I like dystopia based games, I very much enjoy Fallout. I played Fallout 3 like the dickens. Now, what kind of changed my opinion on this, and I suppose it's a forced change, but when I backed Project Numeria, and that was based on my love for Planescape Torment, was that there was a decision made between the backers where the developer said, what kind of combat system do you want put into the game? And they gave you an option. They said real time with pause, turn-based combat. Now this was kind of a 50-50 split between the backers, with turn-based combat being slightly ahead, and the developers said that turn-based combat fit their vision of the game better, and I can't fault them for that. It's their game, they're making it, they make the decisions as to what concept fits their game best, and I have to trust them on that. But if I'm honest, it did scare me a little bit, because I'm not used to that kind of combat system. I have no idea how that would work. At that time I was like, oh my god, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy Numeria. This could potentially ruin the game for me. But then I reminisced to Planescape Torment, its predecessor by Monty Cook also, which is, I didn't really play Planescape Torment for the combat. The combat was a very minute part of that game. It was for the branching dialogues, the character interaction, the story in itself, the concept of having this nameless one. That's what I enjoyed about this game. And when I look at Baldur's Gate, the combat in itself, although based on traditional classic D&D rule sets with THAC0 and blah blah blah, the combat wasn't overtly important. When I look back at it, going over a combat situation where I went through a field or a woodland or forest, and there would be giblins and kobolds that would come out of the woodwork, and I'd pause the game to deal with my actions, and then I would rest to get my spells back and so forth. That wasn't overtly fun. It was part of the game, and that's what, and the game in itself, in its entirety, is what I enjoyed. It was just something that I was used to. And now with Numeria going to this turn-based combat system coming into fruition, I was like, oh, well, I've got no reason not to play Wasteland 2 because I was put off by that having a turn-based combat system. But if Numeria is going to use it, then why don't I play Wasteland 2? See if I do actually enjoy it. And thankfully, I don't regret the decision. I really enjoy the combat system in Wasteland 2, and lots of other people do as well. I thought that was worth mentioning anyway. Now, I'm going to go through this review. Like I said, it is an early review of a game that's in its early development stage. They call it pre-alpha, they call it post-alpha, they call it early beta. Whatever you call it, it's not the finished game. So, if you're watching the video, you will see some things where you go, oh my god, don't worry about it. These are things that are kind of fixed up and polished up and blah blah blah. What's more important is the crux of the game. How does it play? What's the graphics like? Blah blah blah. Now, I am what I would consider myself to be a pure gamer. I don't mean that in an egotistical sense. I mean that I play games not for the graphics. I'm not on board with the fetishism that's implied with realistic graphics. I don't care about that. The only thing I care about a game is that the graphics match the tone of the game. That could be cartoony based for World of Warcraft, that could be photorealism based for Two Souls, that could be a mixture of both, self-shaded. The Witcher 2 has really good kind of photorealism graphics that works really well for that game. You know, the art style, the graphics has to match the tone of the game, and for Wasteland 2 it does. Now, I liked Fallout 3. When you play Fallout 3, you come out of your haven, so to speak, into the wasteland. Your eyes adjust and you're in the wasteland and you feel like you're in a dystopia-based game. With Wasteland 2, I felt the same. Now, it starts you off in a point of the game where you get introduced to a gentleman that gives you your quest and blah blah blah. I don't think that's the starting of the game. I'm hoping that there will be some level of tutorial in place to get to grips with the combat system, because that is something I did struggle with to begin with. It's not difficult, I'll put that to you, it's not difficult to understand, but coming from a real-time strategy game with pause, or real-time with pause, to a turn-based combat system, I didn't know what to expect. I was playing it in a sense of a mishmash of the two. Like a Final Fantasy game, you have your turn, I have my turn. I didn't even know about the cover mechanics in the game at the very first playthrough, and I typically play a game for a couple of hours just to get to grips with it, and it was only a little bit into the game and I was like, oh my god, I can use a cover based system. I understand now. So I feel that a tutorial, just in brief, showing you how a combat situation would work would be a benefit to the game, and of course they may add that in, because like I said, I don't believe where you played the game from in this build is where the game will start. I believe there will be a bit before that, a bridging point, if you want to believe it. We'll see. Now, the graphics in themselves, the character models or the dolls or the avatars, they're not fantastic graphics. I will admit, if you look at them closely, they're not fantastic graphics. It's not important though. I play the game as an isometric based game. I imagine a lot of people probably do. I don't see the benefit of zooming in on the game. You obstruct a lot of the area that you need to go around. You highlight your squad, you move them forward. You need to see as much as the map as possible. You want to zoom in somewhat to have some level of detail in place, of course, but there's no real need to zoom in as I am here now when I'm talking to this desert ranger in front of the base here. There's no need to play the game like that. And if you look at the dolls, they look fine. They look fine. They're not graphically impressive, but they look fine. The imagination is what's meant to fill in the gaps. In this case here, you can look to the right, you see a portrait of the gentleman I was just speaking to, and that kind of like fills in the visual graphic. So you have the character model, which doesn't look too impressive, but you have the portrait, which then gives the imagination the tools needed to set the tone for the immersion that you're going to experience. So I really did enjoy the graphics. Now you can rotate the camera back and forth, and it's a necessity to do so, because there are things that are hidden by the camera, so you really do need to move the camera back. Plus it helps in any kind of combat situation. Rotating the camera to be able to see the full level of combat is good. The combat animations are great. The cover animations are great. The enemies and their portraits are good also. So I don't have a problem with the graphics. It feels and looks like a dystopia based universe. If anything, it feels like a science fiction based western is what it's going for, which I feel like it's going for, because you get to this map which kind of looks like an old western map with like plots and locations that you uncover, like an oasis and buildings, and you can explore that map freely, or you can use the map to travel to it. Now, I know I was meant to be talking about the graphics. There's not much I can really say about it. Everything kind of gels together. The interface and menu themselves kind of remind me a little bit about Fallout. If you look to the top right, you've got a kind of radio which can scan the area for radio signals. You can call in, obviously, to your mission giver. You've got a typewriter below which kind of writes the narrative as it goes ahead, which is really good to me, because that acts as the voice of the DM, so to speak, because it narrates everything. So if you approach a location or you examine somebody, it will literally start typing what you're seeing. So you've got the visual cues, you've got the written cues to really bring you in and draw you into the game, and that's what I enjoy about the graphics. Now, people will like photorealistic graphics, that's up to them. I find it hard done by to let that be the selling point of you playing a game. It works for some games. If you're going to play Call of Duty, it probably helps to have photorealistic graphics. For a game like this, not so much. There's only so much you can really do for this level of game. It would be a massive game if everything was photorealistic. It'd probably lag like fucking hell, to be honest with you. Now, I want to move on to the sound, because the sound is great. The music fits the mood of the game. It has tension where there needs to be tension. It has combat music that's not overtly dramatic. It doesn't seem ridiculous. The sound of your weapons going off, grenades going off, the noise monsters make and so forth, all fit the game perfectly, as do the animations that go with it. Not a problem. I love hearing the radio. I love hearing the radioactive sizzle of your meter. I love hearing the typewriter start writing when it's noticed something that comes about. It's really good. Now, how easy is it to play this game? Quite easy. I know I mentioned a bit about a tutorial. I just think that's a helping hand to help people like me that come from real time with pause into a turn-based combat system, or somebody that hasn't played this type of game before, because I've got the nostalgia thing working for me for Wasteland 2, because I like isometric RPGs. I'm a 30-year-old man. I grew up with like Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale. A lot of youth haven't, and I would like to get the younger generation into these type of games. So a bridging concept or bridging tutorial would be beneficial to get those people on board, because the narrative to this game is great, as are most isometric RPGs. The narrative is great, and I would like to get as many people on board as possible. So if there was a brief tutorial to help through that process, haven't got a problem with it. Now, as you can see here, we're on a world map. It's got like kind of the grid-based system that you would expect through combat. You can freely travel the map and explore. You have like a water decanter to the bottom right that slowly diminishes. You need to find an oasis to fill that decanter back up to travel more. If you look to the far right, you see some mountains with like some grey parts to it. I immediately identified that as kind of nuclear fallout. That's what I assumed it was, and I was right as I went past it, and you heard the crackle of your meter to obviously inform you that nuclear or radioactive in nature. Whether or not I get to explore further in that if I get the appropriate equipment, I don't know. I don't know what the cause and consequences of that. I haven't been brave enough to test it out. But everything kind of works well. You can freely explore the map. You can just click view map, click on the location, travel, and it will automatically travel for you, which is what I typically do. I haven't explored independently much as of yet. I'm just enjoying the pace of the game. There's enough science fiction and so forth in the game to keep me interested in following the main story. I am, however, looking forward to branching out of the kind of like path set for you in order to get into the game and see what else it has to offer me in secret. And I imagine communities will come together and obviously locate these special locations and so forth. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that it will allow you to move between the locations quite easily, and it will have secrets all about the map that you can uncover, and people will discuss and communicate those ideas and locations with one another. That's what I'm hoping. But as I was saying before, getting into the game, how easy is it? Now, it's pretty easy, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity to have a little bit more of my tea. Thank you. You're met with a character creation system, which is pretty standard for an isometric RPG. You have the create a character, you have the template characters. You can select a template character or an architect if you want to make like a scout, or if you want to have like a medic, or if you want to have a demolitions expert. You can have those already pre-made. You can go into them individually and change some things about. I would only recommend changing your name and personal information and portrait at the very beginning as a newbie. The other statistics and things like that you want to play about with on your next playthrough, and you will want to play through these kind of games again, mainly because your skills give you options through dialogue. If you ever played Mass Effect, where your actions and so forth give you certain skills like your paragon tree, like your good and evil, and you get to pick those kind of skills, that works in these type of games as well, but to a greater depth. You'll have hard ass, for example, that will give you certain dialogue trees. You'll have a perception, which will give you options to identify. For example, in this playthrough here, I did a perception check on something that told me that it could be repaired using a specific skill. So there's different ways to encounter different areas. So you can play again and experience it from a different angle. And the same goes for this playthrough. In here I pretty much killed everything. When I first played through, I had a specific skill that allowed me to talk myself out of trouble. Whether or not you'll be able to talk yourself out of trouble through a lot of the encounters, I don't know, but that is something that could be discussed or explored by a community that gets involved with the game. What we're seeing here is me checking the range of my weapons. I want to kill these bandits over here. I know they're bandits because I checked out my first playthrough when I was mucking about for a couple of hours. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a range class to kind of like hit one good in the head just to get a bit of early damage out. Let's have a look. Yep, so that guy there's got sniper. Boom! Encounter begins. If you look to the left, you have the turn order, so you can see my characters. Because I started the combat, I have essentially what would be considered initiative. I'm then moving my characters to cover. Now through this combat you can see a grid-based system. Now I've turned that on. You don't have to have that kind of grid-based system. I believe it's beneficial to do so. Some people don't like to use it. They'll just like to see the map as it is, basically, without the grid-based system. That is your choice. So is moving the camera left and right. You don't have to have an unlocked camera. You can lock the camera. That's your option as well. Hiding your characters behind cover will allow yourself to have a defensive bonus. So if you're behind cover, certain enemies will not be able to hit you, or they'll have a lower chance to be able to hit you. And the same works vice versa. It's all about positioning yourself to where you can hit the enemy best and position yourself where they can hit you the least. So that's just how combat works, and it will typically work in this style. Now, I'm playing a party that's under geared, they haven't got any kind of gear really, they've just got their starting equipment, but you won't have any trouble. It will take you some time maybe to get to grips with the mechanics. That's fine, as long as you approach it intelligently. You take your time, you're in no rush, you haven't got a counter that's counting down saying you need to have your turn by this time or forfeit your turn. You can literally just go at your own pace and enjoy it. You can go into your menus, you can obviously spend some time during the encounter to learn the ropes and play intelligently. That's what combat is about and how it works in this game. If you try to obviously play it like a real time with pause like I did, you would just charge your character straight to the forefront and get shot in the face, which is what happened to me. So anyway, that's a little bit about the gameplay. So I believe I've pretty much covered graphics, gameplay and sound. I think that's good. I should really finish up whether or not the game is fun, and the answer is yeah, it is. If you're a person that liked Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, and you was a bit put off by combat, turn-based combat, then you'll be pleasantly surprised with this game. You'll enjoy it. It has all the systems and mechanics that you enjoyed with Icewind Dale, Baldur's Gate, Torment, just put into a turn-based combat system, and that system is rather fun to play about with. I've enjoyed it immensely, and the combat gets a little bit more frantic as you go on with the game. It becomes more challenging. It's a really fun, engaging experience. You would sell yourself short not to give this game a go. Now, it is £34, that's pounds for me because I'm British, on Steam. With buying that game, I get access to the early build and all future builds that come with it. In addition, I also got Wasteland, the first game. Now, I've played this game for some time, and although I do believe there are some references made in Wasteland 2 that bridge from the first game, I don't believe it's necessary to have played Wasteland the first game in order to fully appreciate and understand the second game, if that was ever a concern of yours. I believe fans of the first Wasteland will find nostalgia and humour in those references, but I don't believe that anything is missed to a player that has only played the second game. I certainly don't feel anything has been missed by me, but if I play the first game, I may get some of those references and enjoy the game again. That option is yours. It's not needed, but for now, at this moment, you get Wasteland 1 for purchasing Wasteland 2. That may change, I don't know, but that's what's available at this moment in time. Now, hopefully, my little review here has obviously set an opinion for yourself. Not everybody's going to agree with me. Some people will agree with me, some people will agree with me to an extent. That's fine. A difference in opinion is fine. This is my opinion, you have your opinion. You're free to exercise it as much as you want. In fact, I encourage it. If you want to spend some time making a video with your opinion, that's fine. Do that. The more information out there to help people make a sound judgment whether or not a game is worth investing into is a good thing. I believe Wasteland 2 is a game worth investing in. If you're a person that's played a lot of games lately and they've been short-lived or not fun, then you will be pleasantly surprised with Wasteland 2, especially if you love RPGs, role-playing games. If you're a Dungeons and Dragons fan or a Pathfinder fan or even Monty Cook's Planescape Advanced D&D kind of rule set fan, or even the new Numeria rule set kind of fan, you will enjoy living out a role-play experience within the Wasteland world. Like I said, the graphics fit the game, the sound fit the game, the gameplay works. It's an early build, there is some polish yet to be had. I'm not going to dismiss that. There are a couple of niggling things that I would like added to the game. I mentioned two of them now. One of them would be a quick save and a quick load function. I like to quick save before combat. I like to quick load if I get my entire party wiped out. That's how it works. You can manually save, that's fine. I just think it's more of a convenient option to be able to save and quick load. The other one is that there is no local map that I can find. You can see to the top right you have a mini map. I can't make that bitch any bigger. That's all I can make it. If I click on map or try to view a map, it opens up the world map, and that's fine. However, I would like a local map, or to be able to make the mini map bigger, purely because I want to make sure that I've uncovered everything. I'm one of those people that likes to explore, and of course you can do it the old-fashioned way and go and check everything, but I like to check every nook and cranny. So if there's something that I missed upon eyesight, like when I'm playing through the game and I've missed it, I would like to know that it was there to begin with. Now that may not be how the developer intends it. They may say, well no, here's a fog of war, you've got to explore and plot these routes out yourself, just as you would if you was in the game. That's fine, I can live with that. It's just a convenience thing for myself, and there's quite a few things like that where I consider it to be a convenience thing. That's fine. We'll see what happens within the finished build. There is some optimization issues as well, I should make mention to that. Sometimes the game runs a little bit sluggish. That's fine, it quickly resolves itself. It doesn't detract from the game and its experience. I'm very much enjoying this game. If you like dystopia based universes, if you like RPGs, if you like the idea of shooting pod people, if you like the idea of fighting, well I'm going to be fighting at this moment, giant toads with cool kind of mechanics, if you like the idea of going through a wasteland and fighting mutants, then this is going to be the kind of game that you want to play. So hopefully, as I said before, you're able to make a decision. Now I should make mention that I haven't done a let's play of this kind of game. I will do, but when it's complete. So I will do a let's play of this game. I would encourage anybody, if you've got an interest of watching somebody play this game, subscribe to the channel, watch me play this game when it comes out. I'll be glad if you do. I would really appreciate it, because I want to play this game. I would like to watch other people play this game, and I would like to find things that I've missed, or you may find things that you missed by watching my gameplay. I may find things that you do in your gameplay that I enjoy. If you've got a gameplay coming out of this, let me know. I'll be happy to watch it. I won't spoil it for myself. Obviously if you get ahead of me, I'm not going to watch ahead of me. I'll watch your part of the content once I reach that point. So that's how it typically works. I'm excited for this game. Hopefully other people are too. I believe £34 for this game plus the first Wasteland, a good investment. I only wish I supported the Kickstarter at that time. And hopefully if these games get a lot of love, more of these type of games could come out. Pillars of Eternity is coming out. If you like Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, if you've got an interest for Wasteland 2, you may like Pillars of Eternity, formerly known as Project of Eternity. They are doing a slacker backer kind of system. It's worth investing into. Get yourself involved in a game that 30 plus hours is the norm. I played Baldur's Gate for 150 hours on my first playthrough. On my second playthrough I played it double that. For Icewind Dale, same thing. Planescape Torment I'll probably put over 400 hours into. Wasteland 2, when it's released, I'll probably do the same with that. These are good, committed, long play games. For £34 you're getting a bargain. And that's my honest opinion. So, if you disagree, that's fine. But if you do agree, I look forward to seeing you in the Wasteland. Catch you later.
Ranger Team Echo, this is Ranger Command. Come in. 10-4 Echo 1. Got an update for me? What? That is Mercaptain's fancy word for smart robots. She calls them synthetic life forms, or synths. Basically, any robot that can think for itself falls into the synth category. Plain old robots are dangerous enough. Ones that think for themselves are a nightmare. Good, but our priority is still those repeaters. Now that you have them, I'm sending you on to complete Ace's mission, which was to attach him to the most powerful towers in Arizona, so we can get a fix on that mystery signal. One tower is at High Pool, the other is at the Ag Center. Sending you the coordinates now. High Pool is at the most southern and eastern corner of our jurisdiction. They're a vital part of the stable society we've been trying to build here in Arizona. They provide clean water to us and many other communities and farms, maintain an emergency reservoir in case of drought. See Mayor Vikstrom there about using their tower. He knows you're coming. Ag Center is due south of Ranger Citadel and very important to what we're trying to achieve. The researchers there are developing hardier plants and animals that will thrive in the harsh conditions of the waste. If it all pays off, we may see the day when nobody in Arizona goes hungry. Talk to Matt Forrestal about hooking up to their radio dish. Used to be one of us. Now he runs things down there. That's good people. Used to be part of an old satellite relay system, from what Woodson tells me. Strongest transmitter in Arizona. They built their tower on top of an old crane. A bit unorthodox, but it gets great reception. Roger, Echo 1. Ready to command out.
over here.
Copy, Echo 1. This is Ranger Command. Go ahead. Over.
Well, let me tell you Matthias's law, friends. Matthias's law is vengeance. And soon, Matthias's law will stretch all the way to Arizona and kill those so-called upholders of justice, the Desert Rangers.